fucking hoodies out, bitch. Hi, what's up? How are you? I hope you're doing good. I hope everything is going cool, great, and dandy for you, and that you're having a cool. I was gonna say good, and then I started saying cool, and then it came out as cooled. I hope you're having a cool morning, afternoon, evening, or night whenever you stumble across this video and watch it. I am so freaking happy that it's September. You have no fucking clue. Me and the heat? Nuh-uh. No. No matter how hard I tried hanging out with people that love summer. I tried loving summer. I tried to make summer an aesthetic. Even when I knew, like the moment I knew it was a fail, I'm never ever gonna love summer. It was when I read books, like summery books, and I still did not want to be there. That's my fucking limit. When it doesn't work with books, it's never gonna fucking work. Whenever I see that it's September, I know it's technically still summer and fall is not until near the end of September, but I'm counting this as the end of summer. So what I wanted to do was document all of the books that I've read in summer, which I'm counting as June, July, and August. Duh. I have a lot to go through. I've read, wait. Okay, so I might have gone a little overboard. I've read 37 books the past 3 months. I think I have a problem. Starting at the month of June, the first book I've read in the month of June was The Picture of Dorian Gray. And this has been a roller coaster for me because when I first read it, I liked it but did not love it, and I gave it 3 out of 3 stars, and then I reread it and then I gave it 3.5 stars, and I started really liking it, and then I went into like an analysis, deep hole sort of thing with this book, and it made me appreciate it a whole lot. And then I read it for the last time and I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. So this is a whole fucking roller coaster. It's a classic. It's a very easy classic. It's incredibly famous, especially with book talk, and I thought it was an easy way to start into classics, and definitely a book that I will be recommending. And then I've read No Longer Human by Osama Desai. Same with this one. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars at first, and then I reread it and went into a little bit of an analysis, and I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars because I found it a little bit hard to understand, but I thought it was a really good book. If you're in the mood for it. It's a very heavy book, a very heavy book, but the first time and I wasn't really mentally in the mood for it, and it made me give it 3 out of 5 stars. And then when I reread it and understood it as more, my advice would be like to try and read it as a biography. It's not, but like try to read it as a biography, because going into it that way made it so heartbreaking, and it made me increase the points that I already given it. Not that anyone cares about the ratings that I do, but you know. And then I read Pull by Charles Bukowski, which is a book I will never stop raving about. I absolutely loved it, and I did not expect for the book to be sci-fi, to be so like fantasy related, and it caught me so off guard, but I absolutely loved it. After Pulp, still in the month of June, I read Two Kinds of Truth. I hated it. If I could have given it -10, I would have. If I could have given it a 0, I would have, but I can't, so I gave it a 1. I hated that book with literally all of my being. And that's that. And then I read We Were Liars by E. Lockhart, and it just exceeded my expectations. I was so hesitant reading that book because it has a lot of negative reviews, even though it's very famous and it's book talk famous again, but still had so many negative reviews for some reason, and it does not deserve them. I loved it, and I think most of the negative reviews were from people that did not understand the layout of the writing or the writing style, and just the layout of everything that was going on. But I thought it was absolutely beautiful because it made us think in the way that the main character Katie was sort of thinking, and her instability was prominent in the book and in the writing style itself. She was unstable and the writing was unstable, and I absolutely loved it, and still I would recommend. After that, I read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which just opened a whole new place for me for Holly Jackson. I could not put it down. I absolutely loved everything about it. It was so fast-paced. It was so incredible. It was so easy to understand. It was fun. Super, super fun, actually, and I loved everything about it. After that, I've read Vicious by V.E. Schwab. If you don't know, I am a huge fan of Addie LaRue, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I love her, I love the story, I love the book, I love the writing, I love everything about that book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I think nothing can change my life for that book. I loved everything about it, even though it was slow as fuck at times, but I loved everything. It lives rent-free in my fucking heart for fucking ever. I just spat. I loved Victor Vale so freaking much. I loved the entire contrast between the characters that we get, Victor and the little kid that I forgot her name, and Midge. I just loved them so much. They were so mismatched. They were incredible. I loved everything about that book. Then my baby boy, I've read Archer's Voice, and I've been on the fucking hunt for Archer Hale.
He picked the folded chips from a ton of chip bags and put them in a bowl for her. Because Brie said that's the best 5 chips because she said those were her favorite. That's so cute.
After that, I read The Rules of Magic, and remember, we're still in June. This is such an old book. It has been on my TBR forever, and I just got the time to read it. I loved it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I don't remember why I didn't give it 5, but I must have had a reason. I loved the writing, I loved how magical it felt, like the inclusivity in it, and I only regret was that I did not read it in October. After that, I read Eon by Plato, or Plato's Eon, and I don't remember much of it. I do remember that I liked it, and I do remember that I wanted to write an analysis or do an analysis for it. I think I gave it 3.5 stars. I really don't remember much of it, which doesn't really... Listen, I'm forgetful, okay? I'm really forgetful. It's not the book's fault, it's my fault. But yeah, I think I liked it. And then after that, I've read The Time Machine, and I absolutely liked it. I think I gave it 3.5 stars. Yeah, I gave it 3.5 stars. I thought it was fun. I thought it was ingenious. I thought it was super surprising for the time when it was written. So much diversity in that book and not much racism, which is like a lot to say for a classic, to be honest. And then I read a short because I had half a day left and the month was not over, and I read the Sleepy Hollow, and I was surprised again because I thought it was fun and actually funny in some parts. That finally wraps up the month of June, and then let's go to July. So the beginning of July, I started with Kingdom of the Wicked and Kingdom of the Curse. If you're interested in that, I have a whole fucking video of it, and I liked it. I thought it was a little slow and a little cringy at times, but mostly I liked it. I love anything that has to do with witches and fantasy, and that combined everything. And to be honest, the males in that book, the male characters in that book, is the reason why I gave it 3.5. In a good way, not in a bad way. Because if it was just the female main character, it would have been like a 2 or something. She was so freaking cringy. It hurt my eyes looking at the book at times. But I still liked it. And I'm still actually interested in reading Kingdom of the Fierce. So that's a lot. And then I read Reminders of Him, which was my second Coho book ever. And I fell head over heels for Coho. I absolutely fell head over heels for Coho. Yesterday I went to a bookstore and I was so freaking surprised because they don't usually carry Coho. We don't really see a lot of Coho here. And I found a book of hers and I cannot wait to delve into it. I've never seen much of that book, so it's a little if it's good like the other one, then it's a lot of a very underrated book. But yeah, I fell head over it. Verity just made me love her so much, and then Reminders of Him just sealed the deal. I loved it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I would recommend it to literally everyone. After that, I read Everything I Never Told You, which is a family drama. It's a book about a Chinese family a mixed Chinese and white family set in the 1970s, and I liked it a lot. I think I gave it 4.5. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I thought it was eye-opening, and again, it's a book that I would recommend to anyone. If you don't mind slow-paced stories, then I would definitely recommend it. After that, I read Psychology and Alchemy by Carl Jung, and that book was so freaking good. It felt like I'm having a conversation with God high as shit. I loved it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I loved it so much. Even if you're not interested in either psychology or alchemy, read it. It's so freaking fun. It's not one point of it felt boring. Not one point of it made me want to skip a page or two. I loved every second of that book. After that, I read Neon Gods, and you know. Neon Gods is a retelling of Hades and Persephone. It's not a very, like, I cannot say a retelling because it's just a drama, a mafia drama with the names Hades and Persephone, to be honest. It did not feel like a retelling whatsoever, and that's the only reason I did not like it that much. I liked it, that's the only reason I deduced a point or two. It's because it was supposed to be a retelling and it's not. Wanna clench your thighs? Go read Neon Gods. After that, I'm not even gonna spend time with this one. I've read The Final Detail, gave it 1 star. I wish I'd never read it. I hated it with all of my heart, and that's that. And then after that, by the end of July, I started my adventure on Shakespeare. And the last day of July, I started Romeo and Juliet, gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I read Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet, The Merchant of Venice, Macbeth, and Othello, all back to back. And yeah, Romeo and Juliet started it as Romeo and Juliet started it by the end of July, and then August I read Hamlet, The Merchant of Venice, Macbeth, Othello, and they all got 5 out of 5 stars. I loved all of them. And after Othello, I read Lord Edward Die, which is actually also from a video that I tried to solve the case of an Agatha Christie book for the first time in my life, and I got so close. I basically fucking sold it. I actually did found the fucking killer. I just, like, the reasoning behind it was not correct, and I thought there might be 2 killers and it was one, but I found out who it was, and it was so freaking fun, and I actually cannot wait to do it again because I love doing it. After that, I read Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami, and I'm not even gonna waste time talking about it. It made me buy a lot more Murakami books and made me plan an entire video, including Murakami. I loved it so freaking much. So much. I'm so envious of anyone who is going to read it for the first time. Fuck you. After that, I read some Poe, and I'm going to name all of them and the stars that I gave them because there's a lot of Poe. I've read The Black Cat, The Telltale Heart, The Raven, Murders in the Rue Morgue, and Gold Bug. I've read them all back to back. Loved most of them except Gold Bug. I think it was the only one that I didn't give 5 or 4.5 stars when reading Poe. I absolutely am obsessed with Poe. I am proudly an Edgar Allan Poe, and yeah, it's all Jack's fault. It's Jack Edwards' fault because I did a challenge to myself where I read his favorite books or the books that I see him mostly like recommend a lot of, and that was Norwegian Wood, Edgar Allan Poe, and A Study in Scarlet, which also I've read in August, and I'm absolutely obsessed. And then I've read the Mindfuck series, which I also did a whole video of. I loved it so much. You do not understand how I am vicariously living through Lana Myers. You don't even understand how serious my vicarious living is through Lana Myers. You don't know. I had a PTSD nightmare last night, and I went to that book and I've read a few chapters, reread a few chapters, because I'm living vicariously through Lana. I loved it so much. Lastly, I had literally 2 hours until midnight. Read one more short story because I have nothing to do, okay? And I wanted to read and I didn't want to start a book at like the end of August and then finish it at September. I'm weird like that. I have to start it at the beginning of the month or it would drive me absolutely insane. So I started The Judgment by Kafka, Franz Kafka, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. And yeah, I love it. And that concludes all of the books that I've read this summer. Almost like none of them were summer vibes. The only summery vibey book that I can think of is maybe We Were Liars. From all of these, just We Were Liars. I'm not a summer person. Interested in knowing, if you're watching this, how many books have you read through the summer? Or if you're planning to read more, since summer is technically not over yet, I know. Thank you so much for watching, for being here, for liking, for commenting, for subscribing or unsubscribing, or interacting with me any way, shape or form. Everything is greatly appreciated. I know this is a boring fucking video, but I wanted to document my reading. This is the point of it, right? Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next video. Bye!